I am in freaking dreamland. I am floating. Oh my goodness, you guys. What did we just watch? What did we just watch? Make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of Arsenal's 3-0 win over Real Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Yes, Arsenal. Yes, let's go. Woo! I am shook, guys. I am shook. I'm shooketh to my core. I'm shooketh to my core. Guys, I shed a thug tear after the second free kick went in. I did. I'm not even going to lie. I shed a thug tear. I was like, no way, like, I'm actually watching my team fucking boss Real Madrid. No fucking way. No fucking way. With no striker, with all the injuries throughout the season, with all the questions around the team, with all the stuff, it was magical, guys. It's just magical, like it really is. And I know it's not job done, but we couldn't have set ourselves up any better for that second leg to get through to the semifinals. We could not have set ourselves up any better. I went into this tie saying that if they kept it respectable, I would be happy. And I meant that because I gave us probably a 30% chance pre-Gabriel's injury. And after that injury, I said, well, maybe about 15%. You know, at the Emirates, just keep it respectable and then go to the Bernabeu and give it your all. They gave me way more than their all. They gave absolutely everything in that game. I'm fucking speechless. I am like, what the fuck did I just watch? There's so many things to talk about because I wrote fucking notes. I was like, I'm going to write some notes because this is important, and I want to make sure I have all, the ins and outs of what happened in that game. Make sure you guys are smashing the likes and getting into the comment section, letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling because this is fucking crazy. This is fucking crazy. Emmanuel says, smoking that Madrid pack. Shamaria says, we legit need to pay West Ham more. Antonin says, all that Kivior slander from y'all for what? You owe me an apology, pricks. Well, I probably do owe Kivior a apology, and we'll talk about his performance. Jet Next Door says, Arteta, give Arteta props, Jess. I will. Guys, listen, when we do well, I give him credit. When we don't do well, he gets the credit for that too. So y'all don't need to tell me to give so-and-so credit and all this kind of stuff. You guys know I keep it as balanced as possible. I'm not going to hate on Mikel after we have possibly one of our biggest wins in Champions League history. Let's be honest, Oh my gosh, it's fucking insane. Mr. says, I've not felt like this since we beat Barca 2-1 with that Arshavin goal. Vig says, the best performance of the Emirates era, hands down, against the biggest club in the world. Tuan says, let's fucking go. Junior says, I'm happy with this match. I'm happy for this match, and after to this match, I'm happy to see you, Jess. Bermy says, give Kivior props, and Rice was perfection. PTM says, call the cops, Jess. Arsenal just committed murder. Listen, before this game, I would not have blamed anybody for giving us a pretty low chance of getting through. And so I don't think we need to rewrite history here. I think the reason why we're so excited is because it was kind of a surprise that we were able to pull out this performance. So let's just start there. I think the expectations were quite low when we first got Real Madrid as they announced that we were going to get Real Madrid. They asked Thierry Henry in studio how Arsenal are supposed to attack this game. And he was very like, don't ask me, because the assumption is that this Arsenal team is going to really struggle against Real Madrid. So I'm not going to rewrite history there and say that I always knew we were going to do this, and you guys don't need to rewrite history. This is very much so a surprise. This is not something that anybody had written down. Nobody thought we were going to have this performance, but I think a lot of us felt like we can perform better and have a better result or a better performance than we did last season at home against Bayern Munich. That's what I was kind of putting this up against, what the performance was going to be like. Are we going to look nervous? Are we going to be rattled if we make a mistake? Are we going to compound on that mistake? Are we going to play our football? Are we going to, show ourselves? And I think the team 100% did that. I think from a performance perspective alone, that performance was so much better than what we put out against Bayern Munich last season. And so in that, I'm already feeling really good. I don't think last season, if Gabriel had not played in the Bayern Munich game, I think we would have done even worse. But to go out there against the best team, they were talking about their Fab Four was back: Rodrigo, Vinny, Mbappe, and Bellingham, without our main center back there, one of our main center backs back there, an 18-year-old, a Timber that's on the edges of injury and all that kind of stuff. For me, that was special. I thought Saliba, because I'm going to go through some of the performances that are going to go unnoticed because there were other performances that are just going to take the headline. Saliba, well done. Not a mistake. He didn't put a foot wrong. He was physical out there. He totally had Mbappe, in his pocket. I think he took to the leadership role back there and deserves a lot of credit because he was playing with Kivior, a player that early on in that game did make two pretty big mistakes. They didn't capitalize on them, but it's just that first 24 minutes, I remember writing down in my notebook 2 Kivior mistakes. And after that, he straightened up. But against a team like Real Madrid, if you make those types of mistakes, they can really come back to bite you. But the fact that we didn't go into the spiral where one person starts making mistakes and then everybody else does shows a lot of growth for me. I always feel like the bozos in this team, like the bozo gene, it starts to infect everyone, and it didn't affect us even when we made mistakes here or there. I felt like Timber was so good today. He will not get the plaudits because let me tell you, MLS, what has spawned from Hale End is fucking incredible. But Timber, that was a special performance. Going up against Vinny Jr., these types of guys, Mbappe's peeling off on the left is not easy. You're on the edges of edges of injury, barely fit, coming off of that ACL, and that's the exact reason why you bring in a player like Timber, why he must play on that side because he locked them up. Whatever little things that Timber needs to improve on in the attacking part of the game, it doesn't really matter because what he gives us in solidity back there is so, so good in games like today. He won so many of his individual battles back there. And this whole entire game for me was Arsenal winning their individual battles. We won some, we lost some, but ultimately we were able to come out of that overcoached shell. The coaching that Arteta put in place was there to see. But the individual duels and battles we were actually coming out on top in some of those. And like I said, we lost some. I thought Camavinga was really sweeping up a lot of things for them in that first half. A lot of things for them in that first half. He was winning a lot of his individual battles, but I thought, as the second half came on, and went a little bit further, I saw Merino winning some more of his battles. I saw Odegaard winning more of his battles. I saw Declan Rice coming into the game a lot more. I was very impressed by that part of the game, especially Timber. Miles Lewis-Skelly gets an assist in a Champions League quarterfinal against Real Madrid. He was mustard today. I did not like that the commentary said that he has a temper. I didn't like that. He doesn't have a temper at all. So I'm not quite sure why he was saying that because Bellingham said that he stomped him. He didn't stomp him. But how special is he? There's no reason to pretend like Miles Lewis-Skelly is not the starter. He is the starter. We need to protect him. Anybody else coming in is coming in to protect him. He is our starting left back, and I'm so glad that we have him because he is special. He is not scared. He is brave. I mean, England are us also lucky to have him. So, yeah, I know I've talked a lot. I'm going to go through some of the comments, but I really did want to get some of those performances because those will go unnoticed. Those will go under the radar because obviously we're going to talk a lot about Declan Rice. But Timber was fantastic today, and so was Saliba, so was Raya. Mazu Skelly was special today. Kivior straightened out after those first two mistakes. I'm just glad that we didn't end up suffering because of those. I thought Thomas Partey was really, really good today. I thought, where Declan Rice is going to get a lot of plaudits, and he deserves those for scoring the 2 goals, and his overall performance was really good. I did think Partey was really good today. He only had like 1 brain fart, but for the rest of the game, I thought he was very, very, very good. And I thought our midfield up against their midfield did quite well. I thought in a setup where I think everybody thought that our midfield is so underwhelming or is not able to go toe to toe. I think they did go toe to toe really well with Bellingham and Modric and Camavinga. Those are 3 players that in one way, shape, or another, they're considered world class. And so I want to give our midfield a lot of credit just in the overall game period. They didn't get overrun. They didn't get over, they weren't under the cosh or they weren't getting worked or anything like that. There was little moments where, of course, like Bellingham gets free or, Camavinga does this, but ultimately they really held their fucking own and did that. They did their big one with that one. And Partey was a big part of that. Rice was definitely a big part of it. I thought Odegaard actually did play well today. He didn't create a lot, but he was definitely in the throes of it, winning the ball back and setting Saka off into those moves where ultimately in the first half, we probably should have been up 2 or 3-0. So all of that cannot go unspoken about because I think before the game, people were like, oh, they're about to get fucking smoked. You see what I'm saying? So Fabi says, I beg people to stop talking about Isak. What are we fucking talking about? Why is that the first comment I see? Not being Fabi. I know it's not you, but I know nobody's in this comment section talking about Isak. Isak is not in the Champions League. He's not playing up against Real Madrid. I'm not trying to hear about him in a game where our players are the only ones we should be talking about right now. I'm not trying to hear about that shit. The fuck? Jagoon says heritage is a myth. No, it's not. Burmese says Rice, Odegaard for free kicks. Listen, I don't give a fuck. Whoever's going to score them, that's the first time that we've scored a free kick since January 2021. So whoever's scoring them, put them in the back of the net. It's a special skill. Not everybody has it. It's not Odegaard's thing. It's Rice's thing. Rice can take them from here on out. Anton Dunn says McManaman choosing Rodrigo over Saka is hilarious. Saka was really, really good today. He created 3, to me, clear-cut chances. And this is why, I think the story of that first half was more Arsenal need a striker. I know that a lot of that will that narrative will get pushed down a little bit because Merino scored and, Rice also scored, but those are 2 midfielders scoring for Arsenal. And if you look at our scoring, the goals that have been scored lately, most of them have been scored by midfielders. And so we need a striker, we need fucking air because Saka creating those 3 chances in the first half, we should have been up 2 or 3-0 in the first half because that is food. That is food and drink for a decent number 9. Those balls put across. And no, people don't, a lot of times people don't consider those good chances because nobody was there to actually get on the end of it. But those were clear chances right there that we just let them off the hook for. Thank God it didn't end up being so we're not ending up talking about those chances that we missed. But the story of the first half was 100% Arsenal need a striker. Period. Point blank. We need a striker. Merino is doing a great job doing his thing, but he wasn't nowhere near them balls in the first half. So yeah, we need a striker. Saka was so good in that first half. And in the second half, he ran out of gas and we had to take him off, but he was so good. Anybody that he is way better than I feel like people are giving him credit for. He is world class and has been such for a long time now. He is a top 3 right winger in the world. He was cooking. He was dangerous. The only reason why he didn't have 2 or 3 assists was because our players don't get into the box and attack the ball. That's it. Saka is so good, you guys. He is so good. And I know it's like, of course, Jessica, we know. But again, a couple of weeks ago, people were talking crazy on his name. Wanyeri this, so-and-so that. I don't give a fuck. Saka, we are so lucky that he came through our academy because we would not be able to extract that type of player from somewhere else. Thank you, Haaland. He was amazing. Shamara says, we didn't disappoint the baddies. Listen. I was like, please don't embarrass us in front of Dua Lipa, please. Blue says, people who don't think Saka is world-class are actually stupid. Exactly. Theo says, still got 2 free kicks that led to the goal, and that's 2 assists in my book. Fair enough. I like that. MM says, big up to Mikel. Wow, that's his best managerial performance in his career. And it was the perfect combination of Arsenal being confident on the ball and not being afraid to show themselves, but also being disciplined in our shape and working hard off of the ball for each other. All of those principles were very much so there, but it didn't feel like we had no answers going forward. And, that was like my biggest concern was that, in the European competitions, we really struggled to go in the individual battle, beat our man, be the one to have the moments. Like we didn't have that. And so it wasn't that the patterns of play were not there and the coaching was not there and we were just out there willy-nilly, but it didn't become a negative for us. It didn't hold us back from doing the things that we wanted to do. And this is the best version of Arsenal is what we saw today. And I think the most sickening part of it all is that when you watch us play in games like today and you see how good we are, even with the massive injuries, it just boggles the mind that we haven't just gone out and got those 2 players up front to just make our lives so much easier, to make it such that we scored 3 goals in open play in the first half and it's over anyway. I'm glad that we're so good that we got it over the line anyway. It's whatever, but it just boggles the mind that we've just basically pussyfooted around those 2 positions for so long, or at least just a striker, so this team is actually good. It's not that we're shit. We're very good. And that's why it's frustrating. Kiki says Merino has genuinely evolved into a great striker. I'm so happy for him. The finish was so good. That goal, the buildup for the goal, I thought was really, really good. And I'm glad we scored the open play goal because, just for the narrative sake, oh, you scored 2 free kicks though. We score open play too, bitch. So now what the fuck are you going to do? Merino, 6 goals in his last 10 matches. That's a very good return for a player that what I'm most happy about is that we found a way for him to be really useful in a season where I think he started off on a negative because he wasn't a player that people wanted. And then when he didn't necessarily lift up the midfield, it compounded that even more. So if we were, and I'm just saying, if we were to win the Champions League, he would instantly become a cold hero because he will have lifted us in the back end of the season when we had no one. And so I love Merino, man. I love Merino, man. Like, I think that sometimes you just need squad players to do their squatty job, and he's doing that. Is he fabulous, and does he turn slower than my grandma? Yes, but he's doing what he needs to do, man. Here to there says Merino is much better technically than 29. Main says Merino randomly scoring striker finish. I don't understand this man. Every time he scores, I laugh. Like, and it's not because I don't like him or something like that. I actually really do like Merino. It's just so funny every time he scores because this guy's not a striker. Shamaria says, anyhow, we will win this whole damn thing. Sociedad boys. Marco says, should I call in sick tomorrow? I'm still high. Do what you need to do, man. AOB says, I'm going to watch the highlights all night. I think I am too. I'm just so on freaking cloud 9 right now. This is fucking insane, man. But yeah, I'm just over the moon. I'm so over the moon. And I think everybody can hold their head up high, whether they were in the Partey, Saliba, Timber, Declan Rice bracket, or they're in the other bracket of players that just kind of did their role. I think this was just a really good performance from Arsenal overall. I think it's going to go, some of the performances just will go under the radar because of the Declan Rice of it all. But make no mistake about it, that was not a one-man show today. The boys really played so well. I remember texting my group chat, early on in the game, and I was like, I'm so frustrated that we haven't scored because we're actually playing really well. And it wasn't like that kind of shitty well where we have all the ball and we're kind of doing our, no, we were playing really good from minute one. We just were so good. I'm overwhelmed a little bit, but yeah, those performances were super, super good. And of course, Declan Rice, that's what £100 million signing looks like. I remember being on Mo's channel maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to a Chelsea fan about our midfield, and he was adamant that his midfield or their midfield was better than ours, and the only thing that we had was the defense, and these Enzos and all these were the guys, and I was stand 10 toes down that whatever issues I have with my midfield, I know that even on our worst day, we're better than that midfield. Football is not played on paper. I know the sum of those parts, whether I think it's perfect or not, whether I, have issues with it or not, I know for fucking sure that I'm always going to take Rice, Partey, and Odegaard over any combination of what those blue bitches can do over there. Like, I don't care. Like, I literally don't give a fuck. Like, and he learned the hard way, because our midfield can be on their worst day and still be better. And that midfield performance from all three of them in varying degrees for me is the reason why Arsenal are where they are, is even though they don't have maybe like the flashiness, they just know what to do, and they keep us solid and they keep us in the game. Declan Rice is £100 million signing that has never been questioned. Of course we overpaid. You overpay for like 90% of the players that you buy. We probably overpaid by like 20 million in terms of like market value. But in terms of what he gives us, soft factors and like the actual hard factors, there's never been a moment where I've thought, I wish we would have done something different with the 100 million, because you can't teach what he did today. The biggest difference that has changed from Arsenal in 2022-23 to the time where he came in is our ability to really perform and come out with big results in big matches. That is the biggest difference between that first season that we challenged and now, is that big games don't just pass us by. We don't get worked, 22 to 2023 season, there was just so much frailty when we had to play up against the big teams. It wasn't until Declan Rice came into our team where we finally started to beat Manchester City. And so that has kind of transferred over to, this is only his second season in Champions League. And so he needed to kind of get up to speed in what the Champions League was like. But if this is his second season in Champions League, I can only imagine what it'll be like in a couple of years. He is just a fantastic player. He does the basics well. He has so many good fundamentals. He's actually one of the few players that we have in our team that actually can strike through the ball. He scores big goals in big moments and makes big interventions in big moments as well defensively. He's solid. He's usually available. Like, that is £100 million signing if I've ever seen one. He just comes up with the moments when you need it. And boy, the moments today, those were two perfect free kick goals. For us to get it, two of them in one day, is outrageous. But his overall performance was fantastic, I thought. And just the two free kicks, I'm still in awe, because we haven't scored one in 4 fucking years. But my goodness, what a day to come up with the two. What a day to come up with the two. And so, yeah, in Champions League, you need moments, and we had 3 big moments today and probably could have had more. We've defeated the best team in the world, and I already see people saying, yeah, but Real Madrid aren't really that good this season. Well, if they're not that good this season, then why did you predict us to get slapped? I rest my case. Ivy says, Rice, baby, hope he takes our free kicks from now on. I'm pretty sure he will. Johnny says, the black dude, Chelsea fan, Dom, said Caicedo been better than Rice. He's just not. Kwame said, what a night for North London. MM says 2 of the best moments in Arteta's era. Oh my days. I mean, it's wild to me, you know? Travis says Partey is a baller. I don't know why Arsenal fans hate him. Not a day for that. Johan says we took no yellow cards, which today was excellent. They lost Camavinga, who was their best midfielder tonight. I think they also lost Bellingham. I think he misses it as well. I could be wrong, but I thought earlier on in that game, Bellingham also got a second yellow and he was out. You guys can let me know. But even just missing Camavinga is huge for them. I know they'll get Chouameni back, but I'm pretty sure, of the two players, if you had to choose one, it would probably be Camavinga if you're a Real Madrid fan because he's better than Chouameni. So yeah, I mean, we've set ourselves up in a really good way where this is all we have to play for. I know we have to do Champions League and all that kind of stuff, but this is it. We are what? I can't do math. 1, 2, 3, 4 games potentially away from winning our first Champions League. So, and 1 foot through the door, really into the semifinals. Like, we need to take this fucking serious. I don't care. No, whoever's fit and not as important as some of our starters needs to play the next game against whoever the fuck we play. Is it Brentford? I don't know. And then we go from there. But this is it. We need to make sure that we don't capitulate at the Bernabeu. And I think the only way you do that is if you make sure Timber is fit, make sure Declan is fit, make sure that Saka is fit, make sure all 3 of those players are able to play in those games. I'm so happy that we were smart and didn't get the yellows like you guys said. And I'm just so proud. Like, I'm just so proud. Like, I don't know. I'm just so proud. Like, I'm proud, man. Martin says, I hope we don't go defensive in Madrid. Gabriel is not around. MM says, Allianz Arena, when hosted a UCL final, has had a new winner. Kimberly says for big Gabby. Johnny says, last time Real overturned a 3-0 deficit. It was in 76, a half century ago. Kwame says, I can't wait if we land the CL. Boy says, I don't see Madrid scoring more than 2 on us at the Bernabeu. Luthvan says, we must park the tank at the Bernabeu. Odd says, hold up, Merino is about to talk. Shamara says, yeah, I don't think Bellingham got booked. I thought he did. Maybe I got it wrong. Fair enough. Let's see. Marco, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, we're the Arsenal FC. I mean, it's just wild, isn't it? It's just wild. Like, today, I just could not have predicted it. I am just, like, my head is, like, in a completely, like, different space. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just, where am I? John, thank you so much for your super chat. John says, I'm on cloud 9, Jess. Cloud 9. Exactly. It's like, what just fucking happened? If this shows anything, is Arsenal also, like, we played well. I want to reiterate that multiple times because I know whenever we win a game, there's always a subsection of the media and rivals that like to try to minimize what we did. And no, we haven't won a Champions League or anything like that. But just in context of today's game, we played really fucking well outside of the goals. Defensively, we were solid. We won our duels. Even if we lost some, we came back and won the next one. We got into dangerous positions, and we should have scored more. We weren't sitting in our box getting ripped. We played our football, and we looked good. We were direct when we needed to be. We played intricately when we needed to. Our players showed themselves. They showed their skill level. They showed what they could do. I don't want it to go unnoticed or unsaid or manipulated in any way that Arsenal just scored a free kick and that's no, fuck that. We were good. And Arsenal just need to look at that and really the powers that be, Josh Kroenke, Berta, everybody up in the upstairs, Tim Lewis, Richard Garlick, just invest in this team and they will win stuff. You are so close, but you need to stop penny pinching at the end or getting scared or not taking the risk. We just need more X factor up front. We can do so much more. You're so close. You're so fucking close. Don't fuck it up this summer. Get it done. Like, this team is too close to being exactly what it needs to be. Fuck. Sample says Declan Rice goal gave me Roberto Carlos free kick goal versus France. And can I also say that I'm going to still have nightmares about Courtois, because even though like we scored those goals, he kept them in that game to a certain extent, because the saves that he made against Declan Rice and Martinelli in the first half, and then that kind of like ping ball situation in the second half, if it wasn't for him, they'd be down 4 or 5-0. Seriously. Like, that guy, how we have allowed the footballing community to give Emi Martinez any sort of awards when Courtois exists on this earth is insane, because he is so good. Like, he is so, so good. I can understand why they were desperate for him to be there, because seeing him in real time, like, I wasn't there, but like in real time, like really watching him, I'm like, he kept them in that shit. Like, Declan's free kicks had to be so on the money. It was wild. Like, it was just wild watching him. He was so good. Victor says, we're such a good team. I was so pissed off whenever some of our fans said that we had 0% chance. We aren't that bad. This team has insane potential. Yeah, like we spoke about that before the game. I said anybody who gave us a 0% chance was just being ridiculous and dramatic. And maybe even I could have given us a better chance, but I did not foresee 3-0 going back to the Bernabeu. But, you know, this team is good. It doesn't need to be ripped up. The project wasn't a failure in the sense of like, we've built such a bad team, so we need to scrap it. It just needs some X factor. Like, it just needs attackers that can create moments like Saka. Saka is the best example of the type of forwards that you need in your team to go up against the best teams, the ones that you can just give them the ball and they make things happen. We just don't have enough of that in the final third. And so if we can get that, I feel like it will change so much. But like, we dominated, man. Like, we fucking dominated. Can't wait to rewatch the game. Martin says, those chances Saka created, though. Exactly. Like, that in itself should show people that, like, that is what an attacker in an elite team is meant to do. They're meant to create chances almost from nothing. You should be able to give them the ball in areas and then be able to win their duels. Saka wins his duels. His version of winning duels is getting the ball, getting past his man, and putting the ball into a dangerous area for his teammates. That's his version of winning a duel, and he does that over and over and over again. If you had 3 players who could do that, we could do some fucking damage. But we literally have one, and that's why we struggle. You know, Felix says, I agree with you. Courtois is the best keeper in the world. Keep it. He kept Madrid in the game before Rice strike. He was so good. Chemist says, we could have been up 4 or 5 if not for Courtois. Kimberly says, Kivior, I was not familiar with your game. After those first initial mistakes, he was much better after that. So I'll give him tons of credit for that. After the first 20 minutes, I was like, bruh, come on. You know, you can't be kicking the ball across, you know, straight ball across the back line like that. You know, you need to sharpen up. And he did. And that's the one thing that we spoke about, is having the type of mentality to make a mistake and then not make it your whole personality for the rest of the game. And he didn't do that. And so that was a good thing. You were right. Courtois had a great game. We were just world-class tonight. I mean, 2 things can be true at the same time, that he was really, really good, but we were better. Martin says Johan says, Jess, I know you will be cooking on the live with Diluted. Listen, I don't think I don't remember anything that Diluted said that was like necessarily super different than mine. I just think the one thing, and he already caught to it, was that it never made sense to, you know, he was saying against Real Madrid, he wanted to play Timber and White. And I just never really saw the reasoning for changing the fullback pairing unprovoked, especially moving Timber off of the side with Vinny Jr. He's our best 1v1 defender, and White is not, you know. So if you love Ben White the way that you say you do, you would never want to put him in a compromising position, like right off of the back of an injury up against Vinny Jr. 1v1, and then moving Timber to the other side for no reason. So I think that's probably like the only thing, that he said that I disagreed with. But I think for the most part, like we both agreed that we just needed to play our game, and it was still it was gonna be hard, but came up with the goods. Ash said the crowd was boisterous from minute one as well. Definitely could hear them from the TV screen, so it wasn't a library, which is great. Odd says Kivior will get found out in the next leg. Junior says, and about Calafiori, he will be ready for the next match against Madrid. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be available because they said he'd be out for a couple of weeks. So I think we have to assume that the group that we have is going to be the group that will, that the group that we had today is the group that we'll have going. So yeah, they will be Camavinga-less. And hopefully we didn't sustain any bad injuries. I don't think we did. I think almost everything was precautionary. So yeah. And I mean, it's the case. It has to, I mean, we can talk about this later, but Kivior does the business in the home leg. I don't know, besides Gabrielle miraculously being fit, if I would take him out for the away leg. I don't know, because I feel like he did kind of prove that he can get it done, but it is different going to the Bernabeu. So, that's something that we can talk about. Jalen says, I'm confident with this current group in the second leg, Saka will have more fitness. Frank says, it's been 19 years since you had a win like this. Yep, and we're enjoying it. Jordan says, don't bring Calafiori in. Let the same lineup play. Nostradamus says 272 euros won courtesy of Rice first scorer, scored most frees in the game that we have than we have in the last 4 years. Exactly. And we need somebody with the dead ball, ability. And so if it's Declan Rice, then it's Declan Rice. I don't give a fuck. I just want somebody to put it in the back of the net. Nostradamus says it's been 3 years since we lost by 3 goals. Come on, you Gunners. Jordan says you don't switch a winning team. They better bring someone for the second leg. Isaac says, I don't give a fuck about no Calafiori. Play the same team, man. Johan says, is it considered our best performance in the Champions League Emirates Stadium era? I mean, I think so. I would imagine, because it's probably the time where the gap between the two teams was perceived to be the biggest. I think in times gone past, we were considered a lot closer to the better sides, in the early 2000s. So in like mid 2000s, today when the game started, the narrative was that Arsenal were going to get blamed, or it was going to be almost like a formality for Real Madrid. The way that the commentary was going, the narrative, everything that was online from the media was very much so Arsenal have zero chance of doing anything today or at the Bernabeu. So I don't think it can be understated the massive gap that was perceived between the two teams, and the largeness, like the bigness of the win has to say that this was our best performance. I just, yeah. They literally just won treble, or the double. They won both last season, so yeah, I don't think it can be understated how big of a shock this is and how well we played. Nostradamus says Thomas Partey secret man of the match today. He did play well. Odd says Rice is him. Even at West Ham, he was him. The haters can't deny this. He's so good. Junior says, I think if Arsenal could have Calafiori in the bench, well, this is another option. Rayte says if Sterling was on the pitch for the free kick, we would be having a different night. My goodness, I'm so glad. I mean, I don't even think about him really, because most of the time I forget that he's even at Arsenal, to be honest. Theo says this is the best performance, but 2011 Barca was an all-time team. The gap was bigger then, in my opinion. That's fair enough. Berta should give pen to Partey for signing new contract new. And He's not signed. He's not suspended for the next game. Mopati says, random thought, did anyone feel like we low-key miss Havertz today with his runs off of Saka's balls in? Jay says, Jess, I didn't want to watch this game. I didn't even know what to do when we scored the first goal. What a fucking night. The Pello says, rival fans were so confident that we're going to. Could you imagine doing the fucking hate along? That's what I can't wait to watch is all the hate alongs that happened tonight. Because I'm so sure that the crash outs, I can't wait to go watch Matisse's. I can't wait to watch all of them, because I know that they were so upset. Because if I had watched that, if I was a rival and I had to watch that shit, I would have been so fucking mad, so I know that they were pissed. Jasper says, laugh my ass out, bro. I'm crying. Nostradamus says, although Rosiak does have a sweet hit. You guys are talking to each other. Oh, you guys are talking about the guy in the academy, right? Rosiak or whatever his name is. Hillary says it ain't over yet. No, it's not over. It's not over yet. And I think most of us know that it's not over. That being said, there's nothing wrong with celebrating the win as it is right now. There's no reason like an hour after the game where we need to go into panic mode about the game next week. We're 3-0 up. We've set ourselves up really well. They'll be missing key players as well. So we just need to take it a day at a time. But I'm pretty sure most people know that it's not over. But no, like you cannot say that any team that's 3-0 up against Real Madrid would not be feeling good about the next leg, so nothing wrong with a little happy joy right after the game. Odd says, I'm mad, but then I console myself with the fact that Arsenal are bound to be caught slipping. Not sure what that means. Brandtail says, everybody thought Saka was the danger man, but Rice was the real threat. Please hit the like button like the Pello says. Kwame says, Jess, we just destroyed Real Madrid tonight. Olu says, we just need to be positive going into the second leg. And Jay says, these hate alongs will send us to the rest of the season. It is crazy, man. Shamaria says Matisse and Rance, and Shamaria says X and KG. I cannot fucking wait. Ash says, I have bookmarked all of them. It's a week worth of content. I mean, Ace says, got a rival fan reaction comp ready for dinner. And listen, one thing I will say about this is that this was the best representation of how close Arsenal are. And if there was ever players that were looking at maybe potentially joining Arsenal, I would want somebody to watch that game and say, I can make this better, and I could be the guy that gets on the end of those crosses in that first half. I could be the difference between this team being considered an underdog to like level with this other team. Everybody on the planet was watching today's game. So there's no way to deny that as much as we probably stagnated a little bit in this season, that this team is well and truly one of the biggest, if they just got this one thing that they would, we are that team. That is us. We are the team that, well, if they got to start, we're that. We're that. We are so fucking close to being one of the best teams in the world. We are. Without Gabrielle, we played against their big four, and we're virtually like winning untouched. Like we are good. So I would hope that if the rumors are true and Gyökeres's agent was in the building, that he would be like, this is the place that my client needs to go because he can be the difference. Whatever winger is out there, the Nico Williams, the whoever, I know you guys will probably want to talk about Leao tomorrow, so we'll definitely talk about him tomorrow, but that they will look at that and say, I could be the difference maker in this game and for this team. Some people are going to want, like, people want to be a part of the teams that are in the ascension, and we're still right fucking there. That was a good advertisement for us for the summer. It's a great advertisement. The fuck, Ash says the Great Wall of Poland is here. Brantel says Real's defense was shaky from minute one. They were. Kivior performed so well. He knew the task pretty well. Give him his flowers. Nostradamus says, great turnout at Arsenal Dublin Supporters Club tonight. Apologies for the 15 of 20 people that got assaulted by myself stating I told you so about Rice taking direct free kicks. Junior says, Jess, I think Arsenal could play in the same way in the next match against Madrid with less ball possession, of course. Yeah, I mean, they'll obviously need to really go for it, and we're going to have to be ready because I don't think they'll go down without a fight. This is Madrid. They'll be at the Bernabeu. There's an expectation of them to get through, so it's still going to be a tough day out next week. So, but we have plenty of time to think about that. I think tonight we can just, have a little bit of a laugh and, have a little bit of a celebration. And then next week, start really, or, tomorrow, start really looking at how we're going to maintain that 3-goal lead, Brantel says Jude was non-existent. Kept them quiet. Their front four, I can't remember a single thing that they did. Crazy. Isaac says Berta getting revenge for Atletico this game. DeBella says we must not sit back in the second leg. Big trophies are choking hazard for small kids. Star Slayer says this would have never happened if Chelsea were in the CL. This hurts, laughing my ass off. Trini says it's halftime. Still so happy though. Exactly. Like nothing wrong with a little excitement. You know what I mean? Michael says, shout out to Arteta. Perfect game plan in the second half. Perfect game plan in the second half. Didn't look scared. Didn't panic, in any way, shape, or form. And the team just looked so much more confident than they looked a year ago against Porto or Bayern at home. Both of the home legs against both of those teams were so disappointing because we didn't lose either one, but it was just so disappointing to watch a team that at that stage in the season were whooping Premier League sides 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 and playing their football. But when they got into that arena against those teams in Europe, they just got shook, but today there was no shook. There was no second guessing themselves. And that's my thing is you're always going to make mistakes. You're going to make the odd bad pass here or there. You're going to lose the ball, whatever. But it's just about not making it who you are for the rest of the game, not getting tight and not starting to think like, oh my God, let me overcompensate for it or get scared and start not taking the risk that you need to in order to get the ball forward. And so I just loved everything about today. I thought that showed tremendous growth from last season, which is ultimately what you want to see, because last season the narrative was like 90% of the team had never played in Champions League in their lives. That was our reality last season. 90% of our team had never played in Champions League before. And the rest of them had like very little experience. So you have to take that into consideration. The growth from that last season to this season is a lot, in terms of performance level. And really, in the Champions League has been pretty much the only bright spot of our season so far. So, yeah. AFC stand up. You can hang with the best in Europe. And tonight, you scared me. I thought you were like, I don't know why sometimes I forget I have dogs. You can hang with the best in Europe. And tonight you showed up and showed out. DePello says, was the game plan any different in the second half or it just worked better in the second half? I feel like it was kind of the same, but I feel like we didn't do the thing where we dropped off in the second half or, got regressive or, didn't start to go for the draw. I think we still went for it and we're still pretty positive, which is probably the biggest surprise that I had today was that we were really positive. There was never a point where I felt like we were just trying to keep it close or maybe the 0-0 would be enough or, just do just enough to maybe get a goal. And then maybe, we weren't doing that, so I think it was more the way that we attacked the game, to be honest. John, thank you so much for your super chat again. So Jess, I'm so proud of the composure I saw from the entire team, Arteta and the coaching staff. They rose to the occasion. Come on, you Gunners. Exactly. It was more that for me in the whole time I was thinking, these guys are really out here performing for real. The composure, there was never a moment like we're not going to get Jamie Carragher out there talking about Do you see the way they celebrated? Do you see the way they celebrated this? You see, they're doing too much. They're overdoing it. Everybody was so like they've been there and done it before. And I like that, you know. Trini says, Jess, Arteta calls you and asks, Jess, how do you set up the team next week? What do you tell him? I don't want that job. But one thing I would not sit back. I think sitting back will only cause more stress, especially you don't have your best box defender. I think the best thing is Real Madrid also feeling like they can concede another goal. If we sit back too much and we get pinned in and they get on top of us and score a goal, we could be in trouble. So I would say, you know, just kind of play how you would normally play against a big team. Against most big teams, we don't sit in. We don't sit in anymore, you know, so against like City, the only reason why we ended up sitting in the game against them away from home was because we ended up with a man down. So why will we sit in now? I think we have to have the element of feeling like them feeling like we can still score, and put them under more pressure. If they feel like they can just sit in their half and try to beat us down, I'm not sure that that's the best way for us to. And we're not bad at playing that way, by the way. We're one of the best teams back against the wall. But a big part of that for me is Gabrielle. And so I'm not quite sure that that's the way that we should go. I think we still need to have an element of going forward, Karubal says, Miles Lewis-Skelly is so brave. He's the highlight of our season. I mean, at the beginning, in preseason, everybody was talking about Ethan, and this is not to shade Ethan in any sort of way. He is a fabulous player as well. But if you would have told me that Miles Lewis-Skelly would be starting for Arsenal and for England, and also would have got an assist in a Champions League match against Real Madrid, I would have been like, what? What are you talking about? Because he was not really, it was like Ethan, and then in the fine print featuring Miles Lewis-Skelly. But it's really switched, I feel. It's more Miles Lewis-Skelly, and Ethan is the one that's like, taking maybe a little bit more time to build into, the team a little bit more. And so I'm so happy for Miles. He looked not out of place at all. He was right in there with the Bellinghams, with the Camavingas, right in there doing what he needed to do. And so he is just, he has been so special. Like he really has been. And I agree with Karubal that he's the highlight of our season. Here to there says, we set up our mid block, take our time and stay patient in the second half. The Pello says high press is the way to go. Karubal says, Jess, who do you want, PSG or Villa? Is that even really a freaking question? The side mission of the overall mission is to use our voodoo craft and our hateration to ensure that PSG get through to the next round. There's nothing in my body that makes me want to go up against Unai Emery in this next round. Too many narratives, too much bullshit. You don't want to play up against a Premier League side anyway, especially not one that kind of has your number. So yes, I want to go up against PSG because ultimately, even though I feel like they're one of the best teams in Europe, I think it's really neck and neck between them and Barcelona, to be honest, in terms of they've been the best teams this season. I don't want the narrative. I don't want it. Sorry. And I don't want to play a Premier League side. Like, I don't. It's boring. When you play in Europe, you don't want to play the same people you play all the time. Like, I'm not trying to do up the, Unai Emery against his ex-team. Like, I'm not trying to do Rashford running up the gut. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm really not. So PSG all the way. My side mission is to use my hateration to propel PSG into the next round. Because whether we're there or not, I don't want Unai there. So, yeah. Sorry. Ash says PSG because they will actually play and we can beat those teams. Villa are the low block, and I'm not having that. Rayte says Skelly surpassing Ethan is proof that mentality is stronger than talent on average. No shade at all to Ethan. He's progressing as he should. Here to there says, agreed, Jess, PSG top quality, but the familiarity brings contempt, and Villa bring that. Yeah, absolutely not. No. I'd be so sick. Buki says, give Partey one more season. Burmy says, Dembele rise. Johan says, MLS is so dangerous when he gets closer to the opposition box. His potential is so insane, especially now that we have somebody that can kick the ball in the back of the net. I mean, free kick. I mean, that's crazy. We just unlocked some shit. That's crazy. Samuel says, we made history today. Rob says, I've seen us comfortably beat PSG this season. I haven't seen us comfortably beat Villa for a long time. And and the spectacle for me is just so much better. When you're in Europe, you want to play against the best players in Europe. And no offense to Aston Villa, I know they have some great players that are doing great things, and Unai Emery is a top coach. But I want to see our midfield up against João Neves and Vitinha and these guys. I want to see us up against Doué and these guys. Like, that's what European football is about, not playing up against Aston Villa. Come on now, just from the spectacle perspective, ain't nobody trying to see that shit. So it's a no for me. Shamaria says, in hindsight, thank God we didn't get Atletico. Ball. Remember when I said I'd rather get Real Madrid and people were like, what do you mean? We're not doing terrible for terrible. We're not doing that. Like, the old school inventor of the terror ball is not who you want to go up against when that's what you want to do too. Not that we did that, but the way Atletico there's just no way. I just can't see it. Grubel says, PSG are objectively a top 2 team in the world. Their midfield against Partey is scary. I actually disagree just a little bit about their midfield against Partey, or our midfield in general would be scary, because my biggest fear with Partey are the midfields that have runners in it. I think when he has to play up against the types of midfields that like Villa has with the Onanas and the Morgan Rogers and those guys, I think that's where his weaknesses come in, because once you're by him, and then he's stretching and reaching and, not stopping the counterattacks. But in terms of like João Neves, Vitinha, these guys, they're not going to be running past him. They're going to want to play a more technical game. And I think that suits us a little bit better, but that's how I view the game. Runners in midfield is why we struggle against Villa. It's why we struggle against, what's the other team that it's bogey team. There's another team in the Prem too that hurts us every time because they have runners in midfield. Any team that has like those type of ball progressory type of run through your midfield, run through your gut types of teams, we struggle with. Fulham is another team. They have runners. They have guys that can just run. Like, that's our kryptonite, So I'm thinking I'd rather play a more technical midfield than one that's going to want to run and gun. Aston Villa is a run and gun. They're not going to they're just going to run right through you. That does not suit Partey at all. Newcastle. Exactly. So, yeah, for me, I'd rather play the more technical guys, because then I know at least we can get a body on them. Technically, we would be the more physical side in that battle. So, yeah. Theo says, Atletico are Newcastle, are kryptonite on steroids. It wouldn't be much harder, and it would be much harder and boring. Hello. Don't try to look cute. Samuel says, let's finish the second leg, though. Madrid is not the type of club who go down easy, and I agree. But today was a special day, you guys. I mean, what else is there to really say? But we'll stay on for another 10 minutes or so, because I really do feel like this was a special day for us to see what we're about. New music says, Beckham excited after Rice's free kick. It wasn't even Beckham, it's Benzema. He's down here. I don't know why he's down here, actually. What are you down here for? What's going on? He's just looking at me and just being weird. So yeah, JC says Joelinton and Bruno just wrestle and bully us all game. G says, Rice, oh my God, what a baller, Jesus Christ. I mean, you wanted individual moments and you got it. I mean, I cannot wait to rewatch, because I think just overall, that's the best performance of the season. And I'm just like, y'all can play like this all the time if you want to, if you just pull the finger out, One thing about Arsenal is we're going to show up for the big games, but if there's a team that we should just kind of run over, we're going to make it harder, Hausman says, Berta's job this summer just got 20-30% easier. This project just cemented itself in the heaviest European weight class. And I know this is soft factory, and some people will probably be like, what are you fucking talking about? But I genuinely do feel like when we left that first season of the title challenge, we were the best up and coming young project in Europe. Now it's PSG. 2 years ago, it was us. And so we didn't take advantage of that. We went into that next summer window and didn't really hit the mark like we were meant to. And we've flattened out just a little bit. When you play up against good teams and everybody's watching and they want to see that you're a good team, like they want to see that this team is real close and that they could be the difference, or they want to play for a team that plays like that. And I think this was the best possible advertisement that we could have gotten ahead of a summer window, where we're going to probably need to convince some players, some good players, that this is the place that they need to be for the next point in their career. We're no longer a youth project. We're no longer the young project, up and coming ascension. We are like right there with the players in their prime or coming into their prime. So we need to go ahead and get players that are going to need more convincing. And the best way to convince players is by showing them. You know, nobody expected that from us today. Kwame says Berta will sign Williams and Gyökeres in the summer. I think we should retain Partey. Trevor says no more Arteta. Put some respect to that man. Trini says Benzema asked me to send this message. Time for a walk. Benzema doesn't like walks. Like, I'll be honest, Benzema doesn't like walks. Beckham likes walks, but Benzema doesn't. And I think he's just waiting for me to get off so he can get some more Ritz crackers. I don't know if you guys have these in the UK, but they're like in the red box and they're called like Ritz crackers. And they are obsessed with those crackers. They think that when I'm eating them, that those are their dog treats. And they get really like frustrated if I don't, like, they will eat a whole stick of those crackers in one day. Like, we are literally keeping Ritz in business right now between us three. So I think that's why he's looking at me, is he wants a fucking Ritz cracker, you know? Kwame says, Jess, do you think we need a new midwife? Who's a midwife? What do you mean? Burmy says, mentality is key. They came with a plan and executed impeccably. Take that same energy and determination into the second leg. We need to cool down with the transfer talk. We need to believe we can win the UCL this year. I love Odegaard, but he's got to get his shit together. Man, be a fucking captain. Does it really matter if we win, though? I mean, I feel like in the end of the day, Arteta probably feels like he did his job. You know, I think the fan base has a very different idea of what Odegaard's role is in this team now. And if he doesn't get a goal or an assist, they feel like he's failing. But he won a lot of his duels. He got us up the pitch a lot. He actually set up that really good chance that Saka put across, you know, the box that should have been a goal. I don't think Odegaard had a bad game today. I just think people are having a hard time understanding what his role is, because they think his role is to get all the goals and all the assists. And if he's not doing that, then he's not doing anything. So I actually don't think Odegaard had a bad game today. Was his game overshadowed by Rice and Partey? Yes, but if Saka was one of your best players, and he's meant to be, because Saka's our best player, and then the other player who shined is our £100 million signing, then how does that reflect poorly on Odegaard? It's not like Kivior was our best player, or it's not like somebody that was like a free, you know, like, you guys see what I'm saying? Like, your £100 million signing outshining Odegaard is really not like that big of a deal, because literally the player that you spend £100 million on should probably be the most shiny player that you have out there. So I think it's interesting. I just feel like there are some people that just cannot wrap their head around the role. And even when we win and our £100 million signing does what a £100 million signing is meant to do, somehow it reflects poorly on Odegaard, who had a good game, who did set up things, who did get the ball to Saka, who ended up putting good balls across the box for people that were not there. So I'm not quite sure again. And yes, he did lose some battles against some of the best midfielders in the world. This isn't like he's playing against tiddlywinks. He's not playing up against, you know, championship level players. He was playing up against Camavinga and Modric and Bellingham, and he held his own. Arsenal's midfield as a whole was better than Real Madrid's today. But for some reason, there's still an emphasis on somehow his performance not being great or good. And our £100 million signing having a fabulous game somehow reflects poorly on him, or Saka having a good game reflects poorly on him when Saka's meant to be our best player. So, like, I don't get it, but that's just me. It feels weird. Karubal says, he wasn't great today, but not the day to criticize the players. We need to enjoy this moment. John says, Odegaard was better than Jude today. I think Berta might renew Partey's contract. Just do you think we need a new midfielder? I mean, we're probably going to get Zubamendi, so we're going to get a new midfielder, aren't we? Just do you think? Oh, I got it now. So yeah. Let's see, here to there says spot on. Just tonight was a great ad for Gyökeres and Osimhen. But yeah, I enjoyed today. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. And let me make sure I read all of the super chats. Yeah, I read all of the super chats. Thank you guys so much for putting them in if you did. But yeah, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, get into the comment section afterwards. Let me know what you guys thought about everything. And yeah, we move on to next game. And I'll talk to you guys next one. Bye guys.